This video is to show you how to go about importing one of your sketches to design on top of, so you don't have to redraw everything that you maybe, figured out really well in your sketch. So what we're going to do is I have a document started in Boxy, and I'm going to go to File, Import from Disk, and get the picture I took of my sketch and open that. So I've already taken a picture of my sketch with my cell phone. It's not a great picture. And you'll notice when you place it, it's ginormous, right? So I'm going to zoom out by pressing the minus key until I can see the whole thing. I'm going to rotate it. Get that out of the way. And I'm going to hold shift while I rotate. Oh, that doesn't really do. Well, there you go. So I can make sure it's perfectly horizontal. And then I'm going to go back to my blue nodes so I can scale it down to fit the box. And hit enter. I guess I don't have to hit enter. I'm going to zoom back in now. See my pan tool. And you'll notice I started actually, I was experimenting something with another class. So it was already kind of a rectangle shape, my artboard, where usually ours is a square. And you can always change that. So right here underneath the text tools, there's a view tool. And if you click that, that gives you handles to kind of adjust your canvas. And so this is something really good to do when you are prepping it to export as a PNG as well. So you don't have all that empty space or white space around your design, and your artboard can fit your design kind of size orientation. And so now I've got this in there on my artboard, and my artboard is about the right size. You'll notice that this picture isn't great. You can see shadows for me taking the picture. But what I was really focusing on for this was to make it not distorted. So I was trying to make it as like top down squared on to my paper as possible. And it's not perfect, but you can see like the gap here to here is pretty close. It's a little trapezoidal, if that's a word. But you want to make sure that you get a decent picture, because if it's super warped, then when you start tracing, it's going to look warped in your illustration. And sometimes that might not be super noticeable, but sometimes it'll be really noticeable. So, and you'll see that there's going to be things that I might change up as I'm designing, but this gives me a really good place to start. And so now if I go into my objects here, you'll see that my image is selected. And what I can do is a couple things. I can leave it like this, and if you hover, it's a little hard to see, but there's a lock icon and an eyeball icon. And if I click the lock icon, now this is locked and I can't move it, which is going to be really helpful as I start tracing it. The other icon is a visibility one, and that's going to be helpful too, so I can turn it off and check my work as I'm going. Another thing that you might want to do, I'm going to unlock that for a second, is highlight this, and where might it be? I want to fade it out a little bit. Let's find it. There we go. So this is the opacity, and it was under this compositing panel here. And so I can lower the opacity so it's not as dark. So when I start tracing, I can see my line that I'm designing a little bit clearer. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to put it down to about 50%, or this is at 0.53. I'm going to go back to my objects, and now I'm going to lock it. And so now when I'm working, it won't move this around. So now I can zoom in and start using the Bezier tool to trace my work. So I'm going to get my Bezier tool. I'm going to zoom in some more. And I'm going to start tracing my sketch. Now, we wouldn't ever, ever, ever want to do this with, where's my fill? Oh, there's my fill. I just had to roll up. Turn that off so I can see. We would never want to do this with somebody else's illustration or sketch, because what is that? That is dun, 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 plagiarism, right? And we don't want to do that. A little too zoomed in. I have to like move my thing too much. And so this is a way to not have to redo a lot of drawing work when you've done a really nice job in your sketches. So I hope this is helpful. Let me go ahead and do this letter. And I'm going to connect this. Give it a little bit of a curve. Not the best work of my life, right? But that's okay, because I can go back and fix it. I am going to leave that gap because I kind of like that gap. So I always trace things with no fill so that I can see where my line is going, just like when we did the Bezier worksheet. And then if I want to give it a color, I can go in here and add the color to it. Maybe I want to take the stroke off. And then if I want to check my work, I can go down here to objects and I can turn off that guy for a second and see how my work is looking so far. And then I can turn it back on. Oops, wrong one. Turned everything off. And then keep going. Hopefully that's helpful. Let me know if you have any questions.